We're very delighted to have Ms. Hanna Liubakova with us tonight, who is a freelance journalist from Minsk originally. Ms. Liubakova is a non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council, and she has been extensively documenting the political situation and the demonstrations ongoing in Belarus.
Let me just kind of also mention that protests in Belarus happened before. This is quite a stereotype that, you know, that the people of Belarus were not protesting before. So this is a protest from 2006, when people came out to the streets after the election in 2006, right? This is a protest in 2010 in Minsk. I was there as well. It was a huge rally of people, dozens of thousands on the streets. There was police brutality. And a candidate, like former candidate in this election, presidential candidate, Vladimir Neklayev, was also beaten. Basically, there were 9 alternative candidates, and they were all arrested. And like hundreds of people were arrested as well. And this was kind of this flat we rented. It was near the presidential administration in the governmental quarter of the city. So I came there during the day, and I saw this kind of dark blue buses near the demonstration. I thought, well, okay, I mean, they're just trying to kind of, you know, whatever, defend this building, the governmental quarter. And then all of a sudden, I just looked from the window, and I saw all these kind of, you know, military vehicles, all of this. I saw these soldiers with dogs, you know, they were armed, and I was like, oh my God. So, and we kind of understood, I posted it immediately, obviously, and everybody kind of published it. And we kind of understood that this might be kind of, you know, harsh. The reaction from the authorities might be really kind of harsh. And it was like that. So Lukashenko has underestimated people's mobilization and people's self-organization. And now the pandemic, which you might know that Lukashenko totally ignored. He said that you guys can drink vodka, go to sauna, drive some tractor and work in the field. And that's how you would cure the coronavirus. And many people kind of saw that, well, I mean, kind of our relatives die, you know, my whatever, like they knew that this is not true. They knew that, well, while the official statistics were quite low in terms of, you know, the new cases, reported cases of the coronavirus, people saw that, well, this is not kind of, you know, true, because they saw, you know, full hospitals, and doctors were saying that the situation is actually worse. So people self-organized. There was this really huge campaign in the country. It was called Buy COVID-19, when people gathered some thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there were, you know, thousands of volunteers across the country, and basically almost every hospital in Belarus received some help from volunteers, not from the government. And that was a really kind of important reason, because people saw that they can do something themselves. They don't have to wait for anything from the government, and the government has become irrelevant, and Lukashenko as well. I guess another reason is kind of this lack of consequence, I guess, consistency from Lukashenko. For years, he is the main pro-Russian politician, let's be clear. But for years, he has been blaming the West, you know, for everything. We had this, you know, different types of provocations before basically each election, that there were this militants who were trained in Poland and Lithuania, and they came to destabilize the situation in Belarus. It happened all the time. People just did not believe it anymore. And it happened in 2017 during the protest. Like all of this happened before. And you might remember that that in like a few months ago, actually before the election, Lukashenko blamed Wagner militants, this kind of like soldiers, I guess, from Russia who came to Belarus to organize a terrorist plot. And basically people did not believe it. They obviously heard this, you know, many times before. So they were like, no, I mean, this is not true. And these are protests that happened in 2019 when Lukashenko kind of opposed this integration with Russia, and many people felt that, you know, that he is kind of the one who is trying to defend the country from Russia and protect its sovereignty and its independence. And there were so many illusions about that, and that's why Lukashenko took this stance, anti-Russian stance, like, oh, I'm the one who is going to defend independence, the country's independence. And that all disappeared when like all of this, you know, kind of very good relationship with Putin, though all of this disappeared when Lukashenko, basically after the first week, when all of this workers went on strike, you know, people began protesting all across the country and so on, when Lukashenko said that he's going to call Vladimir Putin. And when we heard this in Minsk, basically I was there, and just minutes, basically hours, you know, like really fast, when he said that he would call Putin, first banners appeared saying that, well, we will figure it out without Putin. And Lukashenko has also underestimated the women, and that was again one of the reasons why both women but also men, and basically the whole country is protesting, because of his disrespectful attitude, out of touch attitude towards female leadership and everything he said about the women. And again, their stories were just too kind of interesting. Like, people felt so much empathy towards these women. And when Lukashenko was saying that, oh, a woman, a female president would collapse, she would not be able to rule the country, she would not be capable, people were like, well, are you capable? You know, so that was another reason. And why people were so politicized and kind of mobilized before the election, also because of the new faces in politics. For years, there was this mainstream opposition in Belarus, and people were kind of tired of the same faces, this professional opposition. And all of a sudden, you know, we have a blogger who became so popular. We have a prominent ex-banker, basically banker, who one of the kind of most important, who is former CEO of one of the most important banks in the country. And we have a former presidential aide, Valeria Tsepkalo, who created this high-tech park in Belarus. So so these were new faces. This is, you know, these are well, he is the elite, right? He's part of the nomenclatura. He's a kind of great manager, you know, entrepreneur and so on. So these people also saw, you know, this kind of the new faces are joining, and they were kind of drawn by these new people.
I wanted to ask, you mentioned like the loans that Russia has provided, and I think like there have been some oil subsidies over the years. So I'm sort of curious, would you think that the goal of Putin or of Russia is to protect this outstanding economic interests, or is it to push for further integration, whether that be political or economic? So is he trying to sort of consolidate what he has already invested in the region in Belarus, or is he looking for more?
So your question is about like what Russia wants right now,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like, what does Russia want?
Yeah, you started by saying about this loan, right? It was like 1 billion and 1.4 billion, I guess, dollars, which is not a quite high sum, right? This sum of money would go to I don't know how should I say that in English, but basically to pay another loan that Belarus
refinance.
Yeah, kind of refinance that loan that Belarus took before. So that's kind of not, well, not really an immediate kind of help that Lukashenko received. So and that's not a high, sum of money. So what Putin is doing now, he firstly wants the status quo. He is not supporting Lukashenko necessarily because he likes him. On the contrary, we know that the two leaders are basically, they kind of dislike each other. But Lukashenko for Putin is someone who is preserving, who is trying to who is helping to preserve Belarus in the Russian orbit. And Putin just does not see anyone else who could do this. He's not interested in, obviously, democracy in Belarus, because this would be too dangerous for Russia, because Russians might do the same. So he's not interested in talking to the opposition, because the opposition is pro-democratic. It might not be anti or pro-Russia or pro or anti-EU, but this is pro-democratic opposition, and this is not what obviously Putin is interested in. So he's trying to gain as much control over Belarus as he can. At the moment, he's not interested in, I guess, longer-term contracts at the moment, because, well, Lukashenko is too toxic for him right now to kind of try to sign, contracts or kind of some agreements. Putin would try to do some short-term, I guess, agreements, some short-term, try to gain some short-term benefits. Putin is obviously interested in gaining control over security, over military area in Belarus, and we have some Russian military installments in the country. Obviously, there is a lot of cooperation in the military sphere, military area already. So that would be just developing with or without Lukashenko. As long as Putin does not have anyone else, does not have any other candidate, pro-Russian candidate, he would try to support, in any case possible, Lukashenko or the current government.